This week we're keeping things refreshing with a pear and whiskey highball. Let me show you how to make it. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm the Whiskey Nerd, and like I said, this week we're having a nice refreshing cocktail. I'm making a pear highball, and I got the idea for this cocktail earlier on this week when I reviewed not this whiskey right here, but a whiskey from this brand. This is Two Stacks Irish whiskey, and me and Rose, we reviewed, I'll put a link to it up there, their single grain Irish whiskey that was finished in a pear brandy cask, and it was really nice. Only problem is kind of rare, kind of expensive, so I didn't want to use it in a cocktail, so I will be using this whiskey here instead. This is their kind of, I guess it's their basic blend, but they call it their complex blend. It's a very nice Irish whiskey, and it has a nice, really rich flavour to it. It comes in at 43% ABV, so it has a bit of weight to it, does stand up in a cocktail, and is made up of 80% grain whiskey, 8% pot still whiskey, 10% double distilled malt, and a little bit, 2%, of peated malt. So it has a nice rich character with a bit of like peat smoke in there, rounding things out, give it a nice kind of full flavour. To get our pear flavour into the cocktail, I made this right here. This is a pear sugar syrup. I'll put a link to the recipe down below, but it's just really nice. You get some pears, you get some brown sugar, a little bit of water, and you add in some like star anise, some cloves, a little bit of black peppercorns, and you boil it up, you simmer it down for about 15-20 minutes until the pears get soft. You take out the spices, mash up the pears to get the juice out, and then simmer it down again, and it becomes really nice. Strain it out, and you get this really nice, rich brown sugar pear syrup, where you used mostly the juices of the pear to actually make the syrup. Comes through really nicely. I've also got these bitters right here. These are from Barra down in Ireland. They're smoked pear bitters. Now these, if you're outside of Ireland, might be quite hard to find, but I find they're really good. They add a nice bit of flavour, and because it has that little bit of like smoked nature to it, it works really well with the Two Stacks whiskey because that has a little bit of peat smoke in it too. I will be topping it up because it is a highball cocktail with some Fever Tree ginger ale. This is just nice spicy ginger ale, and adding a little bit of citrus. So for me, a highball does need a bit of citrus. Adds a bit of a tang, adds a bit of like brightness to the cocktail, keeps it refreshing. And for me, if you're using ginger ale, lime is the citrus to go to because ginger and lime and whiskey just works really well to me. So those are all the ingredients. And that's enough time talking about the cocktail. Let's get to making it. It is going to be a nice and simple highball built in the glass. We're going to get our highball glass, and we're going to pop a nice spear of ice into there just like that before we measure out our ingredients. Starting off with our Two Stacks Irish whiskey, we're going to go in with 45 ml or an ounce and a half of our really nice Irish whiskey in there, because for highballs I like them to have a good bit of booze in them, but not to be the only thing it can taste. So for me, 45 ml or an ounce and a half is kind of where you go for a nice balance of those kind of boozy flavours, but also keeping it light and refreshing. With my pear sugar syrup, I'm going to go in with 15 ml or half an ounce of this, because it's going to give us a really nice rich flavour, just like that. Going to go in with 10 ml of my freshly squeezed lime juice, just give it a little bit of brightness, a little bit of lightness, just to go into that cocktail, just like that. And then my smoked pear bitters. I'm going to go in with 2 dashes here because I really want to amp up that pear flavour, because this is really nice and it has a really nice rich character to it. So it's just 2 dashes, but it does add a lot. And then before we add our ginger ale, I'm just going to give it a quick little stir, make sure that syrup and the whiskey all makes friends together in the glass, just like that. And then we're going to top it up with our ginger. I like just these cans because they're very handy. You can use a little bit less or just the entire can if you want, just the top like that. And then for a garnish, we're going to pop a little bit of a dehydrated lime wedge over the edge, just like that. And then get our straw, pop it in, and that right there is a pear whiskey highball. Now real quick, before I taste this cocktail, if you're new here, scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. I put out whiskey reviews like the review of that Two Stacks pear finished whiskey every Wednesday, and I put out cocktail recipes like this featuring whiskey every Friday. So if you want to see more like that, make sure you hit subscribe, and while you're down there, leave me a comment and say what kind of cocktail you think I should make in the future. But for now, let's taste this one. Cheers. Oh, that is lovely. Like that pear syrup, the smoked pear bitters. If you can't get the smoked pear bitters, like the pear syrup will add a nice bit of flavour onto itself, because it does have a bit of spices like those cloves, the star anise, like I was saying. And it just works really, really well. The little bit of peat smoke in here, a little bit of peat smoke in the whiskey gives it a bit of earthiness, a bit of roundness, a bit of richness, but then the lime juice gives it just a bit of brightness, a bit of lightness, and it just makes it a little bit easier to drink just because it's a little bit more refreshing. The ginger ale too works really well because that's a nice kind of like spicy ginger ale, I think they call it. Yeah, it's the premium spicy ginger ale. And I think when you're using a ginger ale like that, it's going to be kind of most of the cocktail. It's going to be like, what, 80% of the cocktail is that ginger ale. So always using a good one is always very good because it just gives you a better cocktail, makes it more easy to enjoy. So I'm going to keep on enjoying it, and I'll see you next time. Sláinte.